Welcome back, guys, to another video. Thank you guys for clicking on the video, checking this out. Before we get into this next video, I want to give you guys a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, don't forget to leave a comment. And today we are talking about America's pastime, baseball. Baseball season is fully back. I was going to do a MLB preview, but it's kind of hard to judge teams off their first game of the season, especially because they have a lot of players in their rotations. You have to determine what pitchers are going to look like, what their lineups are going to be for different days. You also have to take account of the relievers, everybody in their staff. So to do a preview is pretty easy for most people, but for myself, I want to get the full depth of these teams. So I want to see what they have in store before I give them a fair judgment or a fair rating on the season. So I'm going to do it a little different. We have the first weekend of the MLB season done. I'm going to be looking through my laptop right here, look at the standings of where we're at right now, what I project each team to finish, or how I think the season's going to play out. And at the end of the video, I will be giving you guys my predictions on Cy Youngs, Rookie of the Years, MVPs, and World Series champion. So let's get it going. Now, with doing these reviews, I'm going to be trying to be as unbiased as possible. As a true Ace fan, it's going to be pretty hard because there are some teams I dislike and there's some teams that I secretly root for. Just don't tell anybody. So, but I am going to get right into it. We are going to start in the American League. We are going to start in the American League East, where the current standings have the Rays in first place, Orioles in second, Tampa Bay in third, the Yankees in fourth, and the Red Sox sitting in last. I don't see it sticking like that for too long. Like I said, it's the first weekend of the season. You can't judge these teams off the first weekend because so many things are still into consideration. What are the lineups going to look like after the first month? What are the rotations going to be? Who are the relievers that are going to be coming in on certain situations? Who do you have closing out your games? And for Tampa Bay, the only person I could really see them relying on heavily is Blake Snell, their starting Cy Young pitcher who just signed an extension. Very team friendly, actually. The Rays actually got him for pretty cheap on that extension, so we'll see what they do going forward after this year. But Blake Snell is going to be like the one shining star that this team is going to have going forward. If they could pull up a win every time he's in the rotation and then pull off maybe 2 or 3 more wins after he's pitching, then yeah, they could have a pretty interesting season. But this is going to be a team that, to be honest, if by the All-Star break I see them start to dip off a bit, I wouldn't be surprised if they start to sell off all their good assets, or if they start to rebuild their farm system with trying to replenish with good players. Blake Snell definitely is going to be a centerpiece of this team going forward, which is why he signed that extension. So if it's going to be a team that's for the future during the All-Star break, I could see them getting rid of a whole bunch of players to rebuild that youth. Or if they're a team that's actually on the brink of a wild card or maybe still in the lead in the division, then I could see them being a person that's looking to buy in bulk this before the All-Star break and before the trade deadline hits. So we'll see how they do. The Orioles, I don't want to spend too much time on them. Tanking isn't actually a real thing supposedly, but they're a team that's going to be in last place in the next, I don't know, let's give it another 2 weeks. They're going to be in last place for the whole season. A team that's projected to lose 100 games, so we'll see how they turn out. I honestly don't have anybody that I could pick out from their team that I'm interested in, at least. The Orioles, yeah, they're done and dusted. They're not playing for now. They're playing for 3 years from now. The Blue Jays, the one shining star on the Blue Jays. If you guys haven't heard of this kid, you guys should. The son of a Hall of Famer. This guy was great. His dad was a great player. I don't doubt that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. will be the shining star in Toronto this year. They still have Marcus Stroman pitching for them. They still have Teoscar Hernandez in the outfield. But Vladdy Jr. is going to be my player to watch this whole season. Currently on the injury list, which, I mean, kind of worrying, but I'd rather have him take care of his injuries now instead of later. Hopefully he can stay healthy. But Vladdy is going to be the guy to hit some bombs this year. If you guys don't watch a lot of Toronto baseball, or if you guys don't watch any type of baseball at all, this is a guy to pay attention to in the next 5 years, especially now this year. You want to see what he's made of. This guy is an absolute unit. So Vladimir Guerrero Jr., the Toronto Blue Jays, I don't see them making the playoffs this year. I don't see them hitting a wild card. They're going to be that middle of the pack in the division. So that's pretty much it. So moving forward with the Yankees, the New York Yankees, a lineup full of hitters up and down the lineup. These guys are big. And I don't mean big as like their name is big, but their players are huge. You got Aaron Judge, you have Giancarlo Stanton, you have Luke Voit, you still have Miguel Andujar, you still have Torres. These are some big boys on base pads. They're a team that if they can stay healthy throughout the lineup, they're going to be hitting some bombs. They're going to be breaking some records. And they're a team that's going to be looking to outscore your opponent by a lot. Rotation-wise, Luis Severino is a player who's currently on the injured reserve list, and so is Giancarlo Stanton, actually. He just went down with an injury, so he's going to be gone for the next 10 days. But if Severino can stay healthy and continue what he did the first half of the season, he's going to be in Cy Young contention. CC Sabathia is in his last year of his career. Kind of sad to see him go. He's probably one of my favorite pitchers in all recent memory. Big guy, but his knees are kind of just giving out on him, and I think it's time for him to move on, which is good. But another good piece in that rotation. They just picked up James Paxton, who's going to be great for them, who was very solid for the Mariners last season. Masahiro Tanaka, who just pitched opening day, had a pretty good game going forward. And who else? J.A. Happ. I mean, these guys have a good starting rotation, and their bullpen is no joke either. They have a good full season of Dylan Betances. He could be pretty good. Aroldis Chapman is still throwing smoke to close out games, so these guys are going to be in contention to win a World Series this year. I mean, they're the Yankees. They're a team that makes a playoff for a living. So, can I see them winning division? Yeah, definitely. Could we see them winning division? Can I see them going to the World Series and winning it all? Definitely. But it's a long season. They could stay safe. They could stay healthy, and just continue to grow as the season moves forward. We now have the defending World Series champions, the Boston Red Sox, who lost more players than they gained. To be honest, they lost Joe Kelly, who will be serving a suspension for 80 games because of PEDs. They got rid of Craig Kimbrell, who was their all-star closer last year. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see what they do with the closer role. They were a team who heavily relied on their closers to close out games in the late seasons and during the playoffs. They let him go. I wonder where he ends up and see what the Red Sox do going forward. But when it comes to up and down the lineup, they still have a team full of hitters. Mookie Betts, Jackie Bradley Jr., Xander Bogaerts, Benintendi, JD Martinez. All those guys are good hitters. They're going to be a team that's forced to be reckoned with. I'm going to go watch them play on Tuesday against the A's, so I will be shooting a vlog for that, so stay tuned for that. I'm sorry my TV's going off in the background, by the way. I'm watching the St. Louis Cardinals versus Pittsburgh Pirates game, and I know the TV might be a little distracting, but bear with me. But yeah, they're a team that still has Chris Sale, who just signed an extension. David Price is still there. Rick Porcello decided to stick around for a little bit longer, but we'll see how they go. They're going to be a team that without that closer, I mean the closer is one pitcher who in the 9th inning is very, very reliable for you guys. But we'll see how they do going forward. I mean, I'm sure they'll still be solid. They're going to be in contention to win another World Series. But it's very, very hard to repeat in baseball. Baseball is probably one of the harder sports to repeat as champions. But we'll see what they do going forward. So moving on to the AL Central, this is going to be a kind of quick just pass over, because honestly a lot of these teams that are in this division are in the rebuilding phase, except one. And we'll get to that soon. We're going to start off with the Kansas City Royals, another team who is in rebuilding mode. They are not looking to win now. They are looking to win in the next 5 years. They blew up their core of World Series champions from 2014. They got rid of Lorenzo Cain. They got rid of Eric Hosmer. They got rid of Mike Moustakas. The pitching rotation is depleted. Salvador Perez is out for the season with a torn ACL, so this is a team that they're going to be relying a lot on their younger guys, AAA ball and AA, to just improve as they're going throughout the season in their respective divisions. But For the Kansas City Royals, I could see this potentially being a 500 year for them, maybe a little bit less than 500, but they'll be competitive, but I don't see them being anything good this year. The Twins are a little interesting. They are a team that severely underperformed last year. Miguel Sano got sent down to Double-A, which isn't a good sign. Byron Buxton missed most of last year with the injuries, so maybe we'll see what they look like going forward. They did pick up Nelson Cruz, who hit some bombs recently. They're probably going to be a team that they're also going to be a team that's rebuilding, but Nelson Cruz is mainly there to hit 40 home runs and coach up these young guys. He's in the later part of his career, so we'll see what they do going forward. I mean, the only bright spot I can see is Jake Odorizzi in that lineup. I mean, they're not going to do anything good outside of him, to be honest. Hopefully he still has a really good season, but all in all, it's really much what it's going to be. The Tigers. I don't want to sound repetitive, but another team rebuilding for the next 5 years. They're not going to be doing anything special this year. Mike Fulmer, their plumber pitcher, out for the year with a Tommy John surgery. Their only bright spot I could see them this year is going to be Cody Clemens, who, yes, son of pitcher Roger Clemens, who got drafted by them in the second round of the MLB draft. He's currently in AAA ball, so we'll see how he improves as a player. Will he get called up this year or not? But don't want to spend too much time on them. The White Sox. Same thing, just, you know, a potential 100-loss team. Yohan Moncada, Avisal Garcia, just a team full of experienced players, but more going to be relying on the young guys. Get them out the way. And coming to the eventual AL Central champions, the Cleveland Indians. I mean, this division isn't even close, to be honest. This is a team that is going to run away with it by mid next month. They're going to just blow by their division and claim another championship in the Central. Another team, though, that do have some solid hitters. They do have Francisco Lindor, who's currently on injury reserve. He'll be back in the next 10 to 15 days. Jose Ramirez is still going to be a pretty good player for them. The Indians potentially have the best starting rotation in the game right now. Mike Clevenger, Trevor Bauer, Carlos Carrasco, Andrew Miller is still there as a reliever slash closer. They are a team that's going to be reckoned with in the playoffs because they do have a really good squad. Michael Brantley's still there. Jason Kipnis. Their outfield is a little suspect at the moment, but I'm sure they'll get that figured out. But going forward, this is a team I'm going to be looking at to see if they can stay focused in their division, because a lot of these teams are lackluster. They're going to start dropping off in the next few weeks. But if they can keep the momentum going throughout the whole season and get a good strong start to the month, this is going to be a team that's going to make a pretty deep playoff run. And that's in my favorite division. We have the AL West. We currently have the Mariners in first place, starting off a strong season at 5-1. The Mariners, as also with the A's, started off the season a couple days earlier. They started off in Japan, saying farewell to Ichiro. Ichiro had a wonderful career over in Japan as well as here in the States as a pro ball player. He holds records that potentially can never be broken, with most hits in a season, most hits potentially in a career for a Japanese player, stolen bases, winning a Rookie of the Year and an MVP in the same year. I mean, who can do that nowadays? But the Mariners are a team that's kind of weird because they did get rid of Robinson Cano. They did get rid of Edward Diaz. They lost James Paxton, but the first weekend went pretty well for them. But I see them being the middle of the pack type team, where in the division they'll be pretty strong because, I mean, our division in the AL West isn't the strongest. I mean, we do have probably one of the harder ones, but they can potentially win some games in the division. Out of the division, I mean, they're playing the AL Central, they could win a whole bunch of games. But I want to see what that rotation is going to look like after the first couple months. If they start to drop off, or do they just pick back up? I mean, they don't have a lot going for them. D. Gordon is still there. He's getting a little older, but still one of the fastest guys in the MLB. Kyle Seager, Corey Seager's brother, who can hit some bombs. Mike Zunino can still do it. Ryan Healy, playing third base, former A, can still hit the ball pretty far. But yes, I can name a couple players from their team, but I don't know if they're going to be that team that's going to make that jump to the next level. If they could pick up some players throughout the year and rebuild their bullpen, rebuild some of the outfield, then potentially they can be a force to be reckoned with. But at this moment in time, I don't think they're going to be a team going forward that you should be worried about as a competitor. But I'm thinking more of that 500 record, maybe a little bit above, to potentially push for a second wild card, but we'll see how they work out. The Texas Rangers don't really have anything going for them. They started off the first weekend pretty good. To be honest, I didn't even know who they played. I'm not paying attention. I'm not paying attention to the Texas Rangers this year. There's nothing really there to watch. There's nothing really there to be interested in about. Maybe we'll see how many people Ragnar Odor knocks out this year. Maybe he'll punch Jose Bautista one more time just to make it interesting. We'll see. But a wild card team, maybe. But I don't know. They still have a really, really hard division to get through before they can do that. So going forward, don't really care for them. Don't really care to pay attention to them. I don't know, man. There's a lot of lackluster teams this year, and it's kind of unfortunate because I look forward to baseball season every year, and we always look forward to the Red Sox, the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Cubs, the bigger teams. But there's also a handful of those teams that are kind of just duds and unfortunate. We have the Astros, who are always looking to be competitive. They got rid of Dallas Keuchel, who is still a free agent at this moment of recording. They are potentially going to be the best team in the MLB this year. Could potentially win over 100 games. Going to be kind of hard to do that again, but they still have potentially one of the best lineups up and down the rotation card. So we'll see how that goes. They still have Alex Bregman, Carlos Correa, George Springer, Jose Altuve, Yulieski Gurriel. They are a team that will hit you forward, backwards, sideways, will knock you out, and their pitchers will throw 100 at you. Justin Verlander in his age 36 season will still pitch gems every single day that he's in the game. We still have Garrett Cole, who's still looking to make some noise. Lance McCullers Jr., Wade Miley just got picked up from them. So they have a very scary team going forward, a potential World Series champion in the making. A team that's going to be scary for the next 10 years, unfortunately, in our division for the A's. But the Astros are a team that can potentially do it all. They're going to be a team that I'm kind of scared of to see in the future. But those guys are scary good. That's how good they are. The Angels. All right, so Mike Trout, you signed the biggest contract in sports history, $400 and some million for the next 12 years. So congratulations to you. Please watch my videos, Mike Trout. Please. But Mike Trout, the lone bright spot in Los Angeles at the moment. They're a team who don't know what they want to do with their lives. They want to move to Long Beach. They want to stay in Anaheim. They don't know if they want to rebuild. They don't know if they want to be competitive. But you know what? They did sign Mike Trout long term. Mike Trout believes in the Angels to be great in the future, to rebuild their system, to get some stability. So maybe in the next 4 to 5 years we'll see the Angels be competitive again. At this moment in time, I think they'll be a mid-pack team, maybe at the lower level of maybe a lower end of the division, and maybe in the league. So we'll see how they do. We'll see how it goes. But for the Angels, not too overwhelming. So to talk about the next team in this division, we have the Oakland A's. Now, I'm going to be as unbiased as I possibly can, but I can't make any promises to you guys because we have potentially the best infield in the league. We have Matt Chapman as a Gold Glover and a Platinum Glover. We have Matt Olson, who is currently injured, but you know what? Another Gold Glover. We have Marcus Semien, who is picking up to be a pretty good shortstop for us. We now have Jerickson Profar and Chad Pinder kind of mixed in there. We still have the leading home run hitter in the league and Chris Davis, but our rotation is suspect. I'll give you guys that. We were a team that made pretty good surges last year. We no-hit the Red Sox. We were good on the road. We hit long balls. We were that team that was low market, big potential, big hitters, and we were scary for a little bit, and then we walked into New York and we got smashed. But we'll forget about that. But the A's are a team that I could potentially see being interesting again this year. Will I see us making the playoffs for the second year in a row? I hope so. We are a team that's going to be relying heavily on our bullpen more than our starting pitchers, and that kind of does scare me a bit. I am always suspect about teams that rely heavily on bullpen more than rotation, so we'll see going forward how we do. I still see us hitting a whole bunch of home runs in the league, but to potentially hit another second wild card spot is going to be very, very difficult. But I believe in us. I believe in the A's. I'm a true A's fan. I believe in us. We could win a World Series. Hell yeah. Maybe. I don't know. But the A's are the A's. I mean, we're up and down. We'll be up and down most of the year. But don't sleep on us. Don't sleep on the A's. Now, getting into the National League. I know this is a bit of a long video, guys, but thank you guys for sticking through it. So again, if you guys made it to this point of the video, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to comment, and don't forget to leave a like. It really does help me a lot going forward. But let's get back into it. We are now starting in the NL East. The Phillies, who are looking to be interesting again this year, they picked up Bryce Harper, of course. They picked up JT Realmuto. They picked up a few other pieces in the offseason, like Andrew McCutchen. The only undefeated team in the league this year so far. Of course, nobody goes undefeated in baseball, unfortunately. It's just never happened, never will be done, in my opinion. We have 162 games. There's no way you can do that. But they're going to be interesting. Bryce Harper already 2 home runs in the first 3 games, so we'll see how he does. Potentially another 40 home run season for him this year. Jake Arrieta, Aaron Nola are going to be scary in the rotation. Their bullpen is suspect, though. Hitters 7 through 9, potentially non-existent. So we'll see what they do going forward. Definitely a NL East champion, in my opinion. They are going to be a team that I could potentially see running away with it. But they are going to be playing, in my opinion, the hardest division in baseball at the moment. Going forward with the Mets, they signed Jacob deGrom to a long-term deal. Noah Syndergaard is still in the rotation. Edwin Diaz is now their starting closer. Robinson Cano is there now, who started off the season with a home run. Not bad for you, Robbie. Sorry, quick battery change. But yeah, the Mets. Who else do we have here? The Mets. Yoenis Cespedes, still a good guy. La Potencia. Hope you come back to the A's soon, please. Yeah, the Mets are going to be competitive. I could see them definitely getting a wild card spot this year, maybe second wild card. Yeah, the Mets going forward will be scary in Queens. So let's see what they do. The Marlins, the next potential 100-loss team in the year. The Marlins, I don't know. I mean, rebranding, cool. Changing your stadium colors, awesome. Jerry Jeter is now at the helm, getting rid of a lot of players, getting what he can for them. I mean, they're handing out jobs to anybody who has ever played baseball. I mean, so if I tell them that I tried out for my freshman baseball team in high school, does that mean I can get a job with them? Probably. They're a team that just wants to get the season over with, in my opinion. Will they be competitive? Probably for the first month, but I will see them fall off. Hopefully in the next, I don't know, 6-7 weeks they'll start to drop off a bit, but I don't see anything from them going forward. The Nationals, how do they rebuild with life after Bryce Harper? They still have Max Scherzer, they still have Steven Strasburg, they just picked up Patrick Corbin, who was potentially going to go to the Yankees but changed his mind to go to the Nationals. So rotation, not bad at all. Bullpen arms, a little suspect. I mean, they still have Sean Doolittle closing for them, which is good. I like that guy. He used to be an A. Great for him. Jose Soto is going to be their bright spot this year. Can this kid potentially be better than Bryce Harper? Who knows? But if they could not break this kid's back by jumping on it so hard and so often, as a guy who is going to be really, really great this year. Only, 20, 21 years old, so he'll make that next jump going forward, hopefully. So we'll see what the Nationals do. Wild card spot, probably not. Maybe next year. But their rotation is scary good. The Braves, a team that potentially arrived earlier than expected last year. They were not expected to make that big of a jump that they did last year. Ozzie Albies, Ronald Acuna, Dansby Swanson. I mean, they're a team that came out of the woodworks last year. Young squad. This is a team that could potentially be good in the next 3 to 4 years, but they are looking to be competitive now. Still looking for their first one of the season. Don't worry, those will come. To be honest, I will be pretty disappointed in them if I don't see them potentially competing for a wild card spot. This is a team that could potentially either make a wild card spot or lose a wild card spot at the end of the season, like at the tail end of it. So they're going to be in there. This NL East division is going to be pretty tough. Probably the toughest division in the National League. So we'll see what happens there. But the Braves, another good team. Going forward, their pitching rotation, they have maybe about 1 or 2 good starters, and then they're going to be relying on bullpen. Again, a team that I don't want to fade too hard, but if you're going to be relying a lot on your bullpen, I don't see it going good for you guys. So we'll see what they do. Next, we have last year's NL Central champs, the Milwaukee Brewers. Christian Yelich homering 4 times in the first 4 games. Crazy bat. Last year's NL MVP. Candidate for this year's NL MVP with a few other players that we'll mention soon. This is a team that's going to be potentially relying on their bullpen a lot this year. They did the whole opener pitcher thing where they had a guy in the bullpen pitch for an inning or 2, and then they relied on that very heavily. Hopefully, if their pitchers don't run out of gas within midseason or maybe a little bit before midseason, it can make that good playoff push. Then this is a team that could be competitive like they were last year. To make another NL championship run, I don't think so. Possibly division series, but Christian Yelich is still there. Jesus Aguilar is still there. They re-signed Mike Moustakas, who was very critical for them last year. So a full season of Mike Moustakas is going to be very, very important for these guys going forward. If they can stay healthy, like I said, this is going to be the NL Central champions here. So yeah, going forward will be a really, really good team. So let's see what they do. The Reds. The Cincinnati Reds are going to be pretty interesting this year. They did make some offseason acquisitions. They ended up trading away Homer Bailey's horrible contract of $24 million a year away to the Dodgers for some reason, who picked it up. And they got Yasiel Puig in return, Matt Kemp, and Alex Wood. Not bad players. I mean, Yasiel Puig, we know who Yasiel Puig is. We know what he can do. Matt Kemp, a little bit older in the outfield, but can still hit some bombs. Yasiel Puig, I mean, it's going to be crazy in the NL Central this year. They got Sonny Gray from the Yankees. Well, we'll see what he does. He was in that 5th rotation spot last year for the Yankees and then kind of digressed into the bullpen. Wasn't the best guy. He got left out of the postseason roster. Ever since he left the A's, to be honest, I don't want to sound like a bummed out A's fan. His career hasn't been the best. But we'll see what he does in the NL Central. I mean, this is his first time pitching in the NL, so he's going to have to bat now. He's going to have to go up to the plate and face some pitchers. But Sonny Gray is a potential bright spot for them. Scooter Gennett, let me not forget that guy. Scooter Gennett, that guy who hit 4 home runs in 1 game. Remember that guy? Yeah. Currently on the injured list. Will be back hopefully within the next few weeks. And Joey Votto is consistent as ever. Mr. Consistent, Mr. Red. That guy is a beast. He is a machine. He does not miss baseballs at all. So they can be competitive this year. Maybe that second wild card spot in the NL, but we'll see what happens there. The Pirates, another team who's in between. Don't know if they want to win. Don't know if they want to tank. But we'll see what happens going forward. With the Pirates, they still have Josh Bell there. They have Chris Archer. They now have a full season of Chris Archer. And they can get the Chris Archer that pulled off the good starts within the first half of the season last year. That's going to be a good Chris Archer. And they get the guy who was not that great for them after they picked him up. Then they're going to struggle a bit. But the Pirates going forward, nothing really much to sneeze at. Keep it moving. The Chicago Cubs, Anthony Rizzo, Chris Bryant, John Lester, Javi Baez. I mean, those guys are pretty dangerous. Those guys are going to be a team going forward that could potentially run away with this NL Central if the Brewers don't get in the way. I don't see them actually making a deep run in the playoffs, unfortunately, because they did not make a lot of offseason acquisitions that you potentially do need to make a good run. If you're not getting better, you're potentially getting worse. I don't think they're going to be getting worse. I don't think they'll fall off too hard. They will make the playoffs. I will see that going forward. But I mean, the Cubbies, I want to see more out of them, to be honest. I want to see them actually win some games and see what they can do, but we'll see. The Cardinals. The Cardinals, currently watching them right now. Don't know what they're going to do. Paul Goldschmidt is there now. Good job for them. Pretty big contract for him, 6 years, over $100 million. Michael Schumacher is still there to make some noise before him. Colton Wong, still a really good player. But the Cardinals, again, besides Michael Wacha in that starting rotation, going to be pretty suspect, but I mean, still can be competitive. That's the thing about baseball season, guys, is the season is so long, you can't really tell who's going to be competitive until maybe mid-season. So I will do maybe a mid-season review, an all-star review, see what's going on there, see how teams are progressing as I reviewed from now. But the Cardinals, thank you for showing up this year. They're going to be fun to watch. They're always one of my favorite teams to watch. And yeah, that wraps up the NL Central. I think the Brewers and Cubs will make it interesting, but not too much going forward. And last but not least, the NL West. Okay, maybe least because the Giants play there, so who cares about them. The Dodgers, who I can see running away with it again this year. I mean, it's the Dodgers, guys. Clayton Kershaw, Walker Buehler, Ryu is still there. Julio Urias is going to potentially be getting that 4 or 5 spot in the starting rotation. He is something to look at. They scored 18 runs in only the second game of the season. This is a team that's going to be scary good offensively going forward. If Clayton Kershaw can stay healthy throughout the majority of the season, good for them, because this is a guy who they're going to be relying on a lot this year. They did pick up Walker Buehler, who I could potentially see Walker Buehler outplay Clayton Kershaw this year. Clayton Kershaw needs to stay healthy in order for things to go well for them and for him himself. But Walker Buehler, a guy who I can see winning more games than Clayton Kershaw, maybe having a lower ERA. But we'll see. Their infield is still really good. Cody Bellinger, Corey Seager, Kike Hernandez on the outfield is pretty good. No Yasiel Puig for them anymore. No more Matt Kemp. No more Alex Wood. I don't think it'll be that bad of a drop-off. Max Muncy is still hitting bombs. Can I see them making the World Series again for the 3rd straight year? Probably not, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did, to be honest with you guys. This team is good. The Dodgers are good. The Dodgers are good. The Padres picked up Manny Machado in this offseason, off to a good start so far. A team who has the #1 prospect in Fernando Tatis Jr., potential rookie of the year candidate, is going to be the player to watch for them besides Manny Machado. So going forward for them, I can see them being a pretty good team. Eric Hosmer is still there if he can stop hitting balls into the ground. Maybe he can do something good, but they'll be competitive for the most part up until maybe the end of the season, where I can see them fall off due to lack of experience. The potential second wild card spot, maybe. Who knows? I don't think so, though. The Padres are going to be good next year, though. Potentially really, really going to be good next year. But this year, I think they're still too young and too naive to know what's going to be going forward for them. The Rockies. Colorado is a place to hit some bombs if you're playing there very consistently, like a lot of these players are. A lot of these numbers are inflated because of that. A lot of these players who have really good at-bats at home will not have that great of at-bats on the road, trust me. Nolan Arenado is there pretty much for life now. He just signed his big contract. Can he be good going forward? Definitely. Maybe Platinum Glover again this year. After Matt Chapman took it away from him last year. Can Chucky Blackmon be good? We'll see. Their infield is still a little suspect. Their starting rotation is a little suspect. They could pick up some good pieces in trade market this year, or potentially sign a guy like Dallas Keuchel who could make a difference in the rotation. Then I could see them being good. But at the moment, it's not going to be the best for them. But the Rockies are there. Nolan Arenado is something to look at. The Diamondbacks are okay. The Diamondbacks have gotten rid of a lot of players in the last couple years. They got rid of Paul Goldschmidt. They no longer have JD Martinez, who was with the Red Sox since last year. A lot of A.J. Pollock is no longer there anymore. A lot of their players are gone that were big pieces for them a couple years ago when they made that playoff run. They did miss out on the last wild card spot last year. I could potentially see them doing the same thing again. They're not going to be a team that's going to be fun to watch because they don't have anything outside of Zach Greinke, who looks to struggle pretty often going forward. So, the Diamondbacks want to show up, good for them. If they don't want to show up, then I wouldn't blame them. There's not a lot to look at there, unfortunately. And last team that I want to talk about, and I'm going to try and be as nice as possible and don't want to judge them too much because they do play on the other side of the bay, but who cares? The San Francisco Giants. This season's laughingstock, to be honest. So the Giants are potentially going to be the team that scores the least amount of runs this year. They have no pop on their bat, unfortunately. Their core is now getting older with Buster Posey, Brandon Crawford, Brandon Belt, Mad Bum. Mad Bum isn't the same anymore. I can see him getting traded at the end of the year. So far, only scoring 4 runs in 5 games. That's not great. But this is a team that they are relying on a couple of their young guys to do some good things for them later on in the year. Bruce Bochy's last year, unfortunately, Bruce Bochy was a manager that, even though he was managing for the Giants, was always a guy that was very interesting to pay attention to because this guy's brain works in very different ways. He brought San Francisco 3 championships in 5 years, which good for them. I mean, wasn't rooting for them much of the time, but yeah, the Giants, I don't know. They'll get rid of Mad Bum at the later ends of the year if they start to struggle and if he's doing really, really well. If Mad Bum is the lone star in this team, I could potentially see him getting moved before the trade deadline for some prospects. Get what you can out of this guy, to be honest. I know why they didn't sign him to a long-term contract, because they didn't want to commit to that. They don't want him to be the guy who, we are paying you not because of what you're going to do in the future, because I could see a decline now, but they're going to pay him because of what he did in the past, and that's not the right way to pay players. Buster Posey no longer hitting 30 home runs anymore. He was a former NL MVP, but those days are long behind him. Brandon Crawford, same thing. Brandon Belt, same thing. Where are the runs going to come from these guys? They're a team that's going to struggle a lot this year, and that's just not me. That's not just me being a biased A's fan, but they are really going to struggle. They're not going to be able to score any runs, to be honest. Who is in their rotation? Who is in their bullpen? Who is their closer? They have a lot of questions to fill within the next couple months, but they're going to be relying on a lot of young guys going forward from their AAA staff and their AA staff. So a team that could be good in the next 5 years. But the glory days are behind the Giants, so we'll see. I mean, can they lose 100 games? I can see that happening. Can they win 80 games? Can also see that happening. But it just depends on how their core does and if they can hit some home runs. But it's going to be rough for the Giants, guys. It's going to be really, really rough for the Giants. So now that we have the team reviews out of the way, it's time to make my predictions for Cy Young, NL Rookie, AL Rookie, MVPs, and World Series champions. So, starting off for Cy Young's in the NL, this is a player who I will be watching for definitely because, like I said, he can potentially win more games than Clayton Kershaw this year and can potentially have a lower ERA than Clayton Kershaw this year, and that is Walker Buehler. Walker Buehler is the guy who I am voting for NL Cy Young this year. Potentially going to be the best pitcher in the division and possibly in the majors, or if not, definitely top 3. But Walker Buehler is my guy to win the NL Cy Young this year. When it comes to the AL Cy Young, there's one guy who I can see potentially running away with it. Maybe 2 guys on rival sides of teams. So who had a really, really good year for the Mariners last year. Unfortunately, didn't get a lot of the run support that he needed, but was still pitching sub-3 ERA and had a no-hitter. Almost had 2, but a player who I could see doing some work. And Chris Sale, the big lefty, is just gotten his extension, will be in Boston for the next few years. A guy who is severely underrated just because everybody knows how good he is, and because when you are a very good player, people just expect you to do things. And this guy's got some gas on him, so I could potentially see either one of them doing it. For my vote for AL Cy Young this year is going to be Chris Sale this year, guys. Chris Sale will win the AL Cy Young. While the Red Sox make a deep playoff run, they will, but I don't see them winning it again this year. It's going to be very hard for them to repeat. Maybe they prove me wrong, so who knows. Going forward with Rookie of the Year, I'm going to make it short and simple because a lot of these guys are fairly new. Not a lot of people know about them. But for the NL, I have Fernando Tatis Jr. from the San Diego Padres, who is going to be a good player, #1 prospect in all of baseball. And for the AL, I have Vladimir Guerrero Jr., the lone bright spot out of the Blue Jays, whose father was Vladimir Guerrero Sr., very good ball player, Hall of Famer. But Vladdy Jr. is a unit. This guy mashes home runs for breakfast, who currently on the DL. I understand that. Hopefully when he gets back and he's fully healthy, will be a guy who will potentially run away with this, who will run away with the voters. Now, for MVP on both sides. So, for the NL MVP, I am going for Kris Bryant from the Chicago Cubs. I don't think people understand how good this guy is. yes, it's going to be difficult for him to win MVP when you have a player like Javi Baez on your squad who can potentially take votes away from you because he is also that good and he hits bombs for a living. But Kris Bryant is a guy who flashes the leather, is a hot corner guy, potential Gold Glover, could potentially win a Platinum Glove if you can stay healthy again this year. But Kris Bryant is my pick for NL MVP. The Cubs, will they make a deep run? Probably not, but this is a team that could potentially win some games in the Central and make a deep playoff run and possibly make it to the NL Championship game. But I don't know. I don't think it's going to be that type of year for the Cubs, but it's going to be that type of year for Kris Bryant. And for the AL MVP, kind of sucks to say because he is a team that is on the rivals, but I can't take anything away from him. If he's fully healthy and on full go and does not take a step back this year, Aaron Judge will win the MVP this year. The stars are aligning for him, man. I mean, Giancarlo Stanton just went down with injury, so this is time for Aaron Judge to shine. Will he hit 40, 50 home runs again? He can. Will he do it? Hopefully. He is a beast. He is playing every day. He is an outfielder. He is a hitter. He will do some work for the Yankees. He will lead the Yankees to maybe a World Series title. I don't know. Potentially, though. He is a guy who on defense has a good arm. Hitting-wise is a monster and will potentially also lead the MLB in home runs. And before I go, I want to give a huge shout out to you guys for sticking through this video. I know it was a long one. I know that I rambled on a bit and it could have been a little boring sometimes, but thank you guys again for sticking through it. Don't forget to like, don't forget to comment, don't forget to subscribe. And before I go, I will give you guys my World Series champion. And with this team, it's kind of hard to pick because they are a division rival and they are potentially one of the best teams in baseball currently and will be in the next foreseeable future. And that is going to be the Houston Astros. The Houston Astros went from potentially being one of the worst teams in baseball just a few years ago, were losing 100 games like it was nothing. They made losing 100 games look very easy. But now with this lineup with George Springer, Carlos Correa, Alex Bregman, Jose Altuve, Yulieski Gurriel, I mean, these guys are scary. They're a team that's going to win some games this year, next year, and the year after. They're going to win a lot of titles going forward. And I think that starts again with this year. They are my pick to win this year's World Series, and I think they'll do it pretty convincingly, to be honest, with Justin Verlander at the helm, Lance McCullers Jr., Garrett Cole, and a team full of masters, guys. They're just very scary good. Now, again, thank you guys for sticking to this video. I know it was a long one. I know it was kind of hard to stick through the whole thing, but if you did, thank you so much. And if you did make it to the end of this video, leave a comment down below saying that you made it to the end of the video and that you are a loyal subscriber, you are a loyal follower. Leave another comment for who do you think is going to win the World Series this year, who is your MVP, who are your Cy Youngs. So thank you guys again for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications so that way you guys know when I post the next video. And I'm out.